Hey guys, my name is Mark from jazzguitarlessons.net. Welcome to this Tritone Subs crash course. So this is, in a nutshell, a quick YouTube video to show you what is a Tritone sub, how to think about it, how to use it, how to play it on the guitar. And this Tritone sub, the infamous Tritone sub, is often misrepresented, misunderstood, but also it is the most well-known and well-used chord substitution in common straight ahead, say golden era of jazz harmony. Tritone sub. Why use it? First, it can spice up a progression. Even if you're the only one to play it in the band, it will still sound good. It will give a certain effect. Number two, it is a chord substitution that preserves the function of the chords. And namely, now we will do a 2-5 in the key of C major, like any good old jazz video on YouTube. So C is the key. So the 2 chord, 1, 2, is a D minor. What I like to do is play D minor 9. You see the fingering on the screen like this. It's a good little fingering. And the 5 chord is a G, so I like to do G13 because you preserve that sort of color note on top instead of playing G like that's pretty boring. I like to do G13. And then for your C, some people go C major like that. I find it's pretty empty, so I like to do C major 9 like that, or C9, 6-9. Either way. So let me do this in time just once so we have our boundary, our basis for starting to substitute. 2, 3, and swing. 1, 2, 3, 4. G13. 2, 3, 4, C. C6-9. Again. 2, 3, 4. Again. 2, 2, 3. I'm the drummer and the bass player at the same time. You know this? Okay, perfect. No backing track, I'm just going raw. So the Tritone sub will take effect on the 5 chord of this key, which is the G. If you are not familiar with this, we write it in Roman numbers, so we go 5, so a V, right, a Roman V. So the 5 chord is the one that pulls back towards a resolution on our final destination, which we will call the tonic, which is where we feel sat. It's like, okay, we're done. The song is in that key. Here we pull, we go somewhere, and now we're sitting and the song is over, or the chorus is over, or that segment of the song is over. So the 5 is where we have a chance to put tension. Now you will have seen this like G7, flat 13, sharp 9, G7, right? This is the place to put alterations. Now, instead of putting alterations, what we can do is simply do a Tritone sub. And a Tritone sub, I'll give it to you in your fingers at first, and then you can move on with your life. If you want to stick around for the theory explanation, I will gladly do that for you as well, okay? So D, then we go to a D flat 9. There we go. So the D flat 9 is essentially everything is going down but that F note, okay? So that's D minor 9, lower the 5th, the 3rd and the 2nd string, and keep that index here, and then you're done. So let's do this in time. 1, 2, 3, F4, D minor 9, D flat 9, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Again, a D minor 9, 3, F4, a D flat 9, and then we're done. Good job. All right, and so the D flat 9 is repurposed as a G7. So here's the trick. If your bass player or keyboard player just plays a raw, regular G7, this will still pass because of that movement. Essentially what happens is that this is heard, the D flat, in the listener's ears and in our ears as being a G something. Meaning that if your bass player is playing 2 octaves down below this G on his bass, boom, we hear those notes as pertaining to the G chord. Namely, we hear the flat 5 of G and the sharp 5 or the flat 13 of G. That's one of the easiest use of that, and to understand it's like, oh, I'm actually not playing a D flat. I am on the guitar, but in the greater scheme of music, what we hear is some sort of an altered G7. In this case, it would be a G7 flat 5 sharp 5, if you want to call it that, okay? So that's a minimum amount of theory I can give you for that purpose. A couple of things. One super important thing is to look at it from the perspective of this is 2, flat 2, 1. Instead of 2, 5, 1, D, bo, ba. Now it's da, flat 2, 1. Go and check out Girl from Ipanema if you want. That's the whole song. The whole song goes around. Instead of doing a 2 to a 5, goes 2. Flat 2, 1. So I like to think of the destination as here, and then climb up 2 half steps, go C, C sharp, D, and then we're here, and we just descend down. It's just this very nice nice motion. And you've heard this countless times, like... What's that song? Bemsha Swing, I think, by Thelonious Monk. There's countless tunes that sort of use this sort of turnaround as well. So it's a 1-6-2-5 with the 6 and the 5 being substituted, if I may. I'm going fast through this, but this is what happens. And you can pick up most of that stuff by ear. So number one, it's important to know that it's flat 2. So it's like, instead of being a fifth, we're just descending into our tonic, chromatically. The second thing to know is that the D flat functions the same way as a G7 for the reason that they have the same guide tones. I did some of that on YouTube in the past, and you don't have to understand a lot of the theory behind it to use it properly, and namely, I mean the third and the sevenths. So one of my main tool for teaching, and by the way, I'm doing this through a program called the Jazz Guitar Accelerator, which there's everything from one-on-one through video feedback submissions to group calls and everything. My students make tremendous progress. I haven't really been public about this yet, but I'll just tell you, my average improvement in students is now 400% over 90 days. So in 3 months, the average, that's the average. So people do way, way more, right? The average will increase their playing by 4x. It's kind of crazy. So either join the waiting list below or book a call if there's a call schedule available. My cohort is limited. I don't know when you'll watch this video, but you can click the link in the description or here. And just to continue on that topic, the function of this is something I explain more, in private lessons and stuff. But the idea is the guide tones are always laid in the middle for me as a starting point, as a baseline, meaning your third and your seventh will always be on the D and G string. So the middle strings of the guitar are really important in my way of teaching the guitar. I don't teach learn all inversions. I don't teach learn all positions. I don't teach that. I just teach play that sound that you hear and let's pick up and play that on a lot of songs, right? That's my approach. So that said, if you look at the G7 that we started with the G13, you'll notice that we have an F here and a B natural. So these two notes are effectively the 7th and the 3rd of G7. If you're not sure, pause this video, convince yourself, because that's the case. If we look at the D flat 9 now, same chord, but we did this with it. The 3rd is here and the 7th is here. So the 3rd and the 7th of D flat and G7 are the same two notes. So they function the same way, they lead the same way. Essentially, I could summarize this in classical terms like... Right, so you get this pull, the tritone wants to resolve. So essentially your F note wants to go down to E, your B note wants to pull up to C, and that's why we get this sort of nice tension that just gets resolved, okay? So the D flat 7 and the G7 both give you the same resolution, and that's why it works. That's not the whole truth, but that's a portion of the truth. Okay, so we looked at it from the angle of getting 2, flat 2, 1, it's pretty simple. And we looked at it from the angle that the tritone is preserved. Last tip, and I will shoot a separate video about this because it's so crucial. It's important when you substitute a chord, not to do a bunch of crazy things to that substituted chord. I'll just do it in a nutshell. If you have a G7 and your tritone subbing to a D flat, don't make it a D flat 7 sharp 9 or flat 9 or this or that, because whatever alterations you make to the substitute, you're just bringing back the plain vanilla sound of the original. I'll make a separate video about this, but it's really, really important. On that note, that is your tritone sub crash course. So go ahead, whenever you have a dominant chord, a 5 of something, it can be in a 2-5-1 or not. You can do it in blues, you can do it anywhere. Go and look at the chord that lays a tritone up from it. Yeah, that should have been earlier in the video actually. So the definition of it, the tritone sub, is the G and the D flat are 3 whole tones away. Let me show you. So G, A, B, B, C sharp, or D flat. So it's 3 whole tones. So that's why we say tritone. Also, both chords share the same 3rd and 7th, which happens to be a tritone as well. a tritone interval. This is a tritone. So it has a double label, a double meaning, if you will. It goes way, way, way further than that. And of course, that's why I encourage people to join the community and come on the Accelerator program so we can discuss this and you can really get good answers and you can apply it on the standards you're working on. My program online is the only one with a track record like this over hundreds of students. And also it's the only one with video feedback and one-on-ones, recorded group calls, and lots of bells and whistles that make people make really good progress really fast. On that note, thank you. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like this video. Subscribing is free. It's one click or one press. And you might find out that you can increase your skills by a lot just by watching a simple concept like this. On that note, I'll see you soon on the channel and website, jazzguitarlessons.net. Improve your jazz guitar playing with a real teacher. See you next time. Thanks. Bye.